Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Seth Keeping It Real. You're probably wondering, okay, what is he doing in his attic? What does it have to do with Amazon and making money? It actually has everything to do with that. In fact, this is actually where I started. I had to start looking at all my stuff, all this stuff. I had to think about, how do I turn that into cash? And if I have cash, I can use that to generate income that runs businesses, that makes me more money, and then I have margin to do the things I love with the people I love. I'm gonna show you how to do that today. I'm gonna show you with zero investment, how do I start a business that makes me money. Look, I know how much many of you guys would love to travel the world. In fact, a lot of people in our community, the whole reason they started an Amazon business was just so that they could travel the world and go anywhere they want, even to Australia. And I love this because this was given to me by one of our former Just One Dime coaches, and it means so much because this represents Australia, where she came from. Have you ever had a moment where you just would love to go to New Zealand, Australia, maybe London, maybe Guatemala, and you're imagining and thinking about it, and you would love to do it, but then you go, oh, I don't have the money I need. Oh, I don't have the cash. Oh, I don't have the time. I don't have enough vacation hours to do it. And then you stop and think, wait a minute, what would it be like if I had the freedom to be able to do that, to go to places like Australia? You see, this is why I'm saying you have to be willing to let go of your comforts now in order to have freedom and real long-lasting comfort later. Even if it's something as cool as an artifact from or representing another country or another culture, something I love a lot. When I first started selling stuff just out of my house, when I started doubling my dime, I literally made a decision that I'm divorcing myself, not from my wife, I love her, but from the stuff I don't need, so that in the future, I can live like nobody else. That's why the same reason I spray painted on my wall, live like no one else. Why? So that someday I could live like no one else. I know a lot of you guys have childhood memories and you have things that are precious to you. Now look, I'm not saying just destroy and get rid of and turn to cash every single heirloom you ever had. That's not my point. My point is, what's gonna matter to you most when you freaking die? I know that's super depressing, but let's just be real, okay? Steve Jobs asked himself this question every day. He stood up and he said, you are going to die someday. That was motivating. So what matters when your life is over? I'm not trying to be grim, but the truth is, if you're willing to give up stuff today so you can have more stuff tomorrow, I promise you will so much more value the time you had with your kids while they were growing up, or your spouse, or your boyfriend or girlfriend, or your friends. Now, this I absolutely love. This is actually from my office at home, and this globe reminds me of the world because I want to impact every freaking nation, helping them, teaching them how to make money. One of my visions and dreams. If you're really serious about making money, you gotta get a global mindset. People got to think global. I know you're thinking, wait, Seth, hold on. You're talking about a yard sale in my front yard, and then you're talking about the world. Yes. You start with what you have and then you grow. Cal Hunter, he was the owner of a radio station in Redding, California, where I used to be a talk show host. And he said, when I moved to LA and I wanted to do a radio show, he said, Seth, you need to think big and you will go big. Guess what? Start in your attic, go global. Start with what you got and let it grow from there. If I could have told you 5 years ago, I would not have sold a single thing on Amazon, a single thing on eBay. I did a yard sale when I was 11, but I really, truly was living paycheck to paycheck and in debt. If I could have told you I would be here today and the ability to not work another day in my life, I wouldn't have believed you. I started with a yard sale, but I had to think global and challenge yourself. Be willing to dare yourself to think big enough that you could actually fulfill your dreams. And that starts today. What's in your house? What are you gonna do to turn it into cash, my friends? And then take that cash and invest it into your business. I understand the sentimental value. I get it. I struggle with this as well. I'm an extremely nostalgic person. But like Spark Joy says, Marie Kondo, You want to take it, you want to bring it close to your heart, enjoy it, respect it, but then there's a moment to let it go. This book was given to me by my great uncle. His name was L. Brownell McGrew. If you Google him, you'll find him. He was a famous painter. He lived among the Indians and he painted the Indians while he lived among them. This book has a lot of sentimental value to me. It's called the Indian Howl book. I remember moments reading this as a kid when it was my dream when I was very young to be an Indian. I would even walk a certain way from the toe to the heel instead of the heel to the toe because that's how Indians walked with their moccasins, as in American Indians. Now, this is a tough moment because when I began to sell stuff in my house, I had a lot of books like this. Some of them even older, some of them written in the 1700s. And I had to make a decision for a moment, am I gonna hold on to the sentimental value, which is real? That value, that longing for old books, which I think are amazing, even how they smell. I know it sounds weird, but I think even old books smell good. There's something about being in an old book that just cannot match anything. But I realized it brought me a certain level of comfort. If I sold these and if I turned that into money and I allowed that money to pay for building a business, I would have enough money to buy thousands of them. And as a result, a lot more comfort. Because at the end of the day, I'm not caring so much about the old books in the house. It's the memories I build with the people that I love. Those are the ones that matter the most. So as you go through your house, be willing to let go of, divorce yourself from, give up items that even though they may kind of pull your heart, in the future, turning those into cash can benefit you so much better than holding on to it while it just sits there and it collects dust and it's not really creating any new fresh memories for you and those you love. Listen, one of the reasons we're not willing to let go of things today is because we're freaking living in the past. But you don't want to sacrifice the future because you're living in the past all the time. There's a moment where you have to let go so you can introduce the new step and build a future that your future self will look back to and treasure that even more.